906 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. We got a lot to get to today. Very excited to be here with you. However you may be listening, whether you're on the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, the 99.7 WTN app, whether you're kicking it old school on the FM dial, or if you're watching us on Super Talk TV, on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube, we appreciate you no matter which way you're doing it. If you're over on YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe. Got a few kids that want to go to summer camp, and those likes and subscribes will definitely help with that. Please hit like and subscribe. Today on the show, around 11:05, friend of the show, Tennessee Director for Stand for Health Freedom, Bernadette Pajer, is going to be joining the show. She is trying to kill a bill in the Tennessee legislature, and she's going to tell us all about it. It's very Maha agenda-based, and Bernadette's going to break it all down for us at 11:05. Also on the show today, we're going to talk about the Trump economy. We're going to talk about Doge and more. But I want to begin today with what is happening in Syria. This was a developing story all weekend long. It has not gotten the coverage that I think it deserves. But it's now estimated that over 7,000 Christians and Alawites have been murdered in Syria in the last 3 days. You had radical Islamists take over the country. And now we're seeing the fruits, if you will, of that. And the fruits of that are rotten to the core. We have religious minorities in the country of Syria being absolutely decimated, murdered. And the videos that are coming out of there are horrific. And yet the mainstream media seems relatively silent. I guess because it's Christians that doesn't really hold much weight on the news when it comes to ABC, CBS, and NBC. Yet here we are. They're calling this Syria's deadliest period since the ousting of Bashar al-Assad 3 months ago. Clashes have erupted between government forces and pro-Assad fighters this week, leaving hundreds of civilians and fighters dead. And since about Thursday of last week, thousands of people, including Christian minorities and Alawites, the sect to which Assad belongs to, have been killed, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights and local reports. Murdered for the crime of being Christian. And we don't hear anything about it on the news. Isn't that a shocker? Isn't that a shocker? And you're seeing just heartbreaking videos coming out. There's one Syrian man who is a Christian, posted this video on social media begging for help.
Covering my face now because I don't want anyone to see my face, because if they see me, they will kill me. I'm from Syria. I live now in the city of Latakia. Please. The media is not showing you anything. The terrorists are killing everyone, children, women, teenagers, old people, just killing. There is more than 100 bodies in my village now. Even in the city, they are just taking the children and the women and kill them. I don't know what to do with my mom and my two sisters. Please, you gotta help us. Nobody's talking anything about it. Not the social media or the TV channels. They are all hiding the truth. They are saying that they are killing the resistance, but this is end up 2 days ago. Please, you gotta help us. They have been killing people since 2 days until now. Hundred of bodies are thrown in the street, in the villages, and in the city of Syria. We are not allowed to go out of the house. They just come to the houses, take the people, kill them outside of the house, and take all the phones so nobody record or do anything. Please, you gotta help us. I have two sisters. I don't know what to do with them. If it's okay for me if I die, but not for my two sisters or my mom.
I mean, the video, it's terrible. It's awful what this guy's going through. Hey, it's fine if I die, but what about my mom and my sisters? Again, nothing. Nothing on the mainstream media. And I just wonder, who could have seen this coming? You topple a guy like Bashar al-Assad, and things get worse. You arm the rebels against Bashar al-Assad, and then you find out that the rebels are worse. who could have predicted this? Oh, just about everybody on the conservative right. Weird. Donald Trump actually predicted this in 2016.
Now, she talks tough. She talks really tough against Putin and against Assad. She talks in favor of the rebels. She doesn't even know who the rebels are. You know, every time we take rebels, whether it's in Iraq or anywhere else, we're arming people. And you know what happens? They end up being worse than the people. Look at what she did in Libya with Gaddafi. Gaddafi's out. It's a mess. And by the way, ISIS has a good chunk of their oil. I'm sure you probably have heard that.
They're arming the rebels, and then they end up being worse than the dictators that we're trying to topple. Yep. Trump predicted that in the debate with 2016. 10 years ago, Trump is on CNN talking exactly about what would happen if America backed the rebels over Assad.
So I've watched Assad, and I've watched a little bit on the other side. The problem is the other side of Assad, we have no idea who they are. They probably are ISIS. I'm saying, are we better off with Assad? We have no idea who these people are. We give them weapons, we give them ammunition, we give them everything. Aaron, we have no idea who. I mean, maybe it's worse than Assad. So what are we doing? Why are we involved? We have to get rid of ISIS, very importantly. But I look at Assad, and Assad, to me, looks better than the other side. And, you know, this has happened before. We back a certain side, and that side turns out to be a total catastrophe. Russia likes Assad seemingly a lot. Let them worry about ISIS. Let them fight it.
So, again, the mainstream media cheered when Bashar al-Assad was toppled. And the media is silent as the moderate rebels are now executing Christians in the streets. Are you surprised? I'm not surprised at all. They said that after Assad was gone, it was going to be a more inclusive place. I mean, CNN was all in there touring the prisons and celebrating the toppling of al-Assad. I doubt there's any CNN reporters going to be covering this with the same kind of gleeful coverage that they had when Assad was toppled. Reports of up to 7,000 Christians and Alawites murdered in Syria in the last 3 days. The Christian population in Syria is dwindling. It used to be a lot larger. It used to be, it was like around 10% of the population. Now it's like 2 to 3% of the population. There's still hundreds of thousands of Christians in Syria. And we, as Christians, we're the most persecuted religious faction in the entire world. Though if you watch the mainstream media coverage, you wouldn't exactly think that. And the media is going to be silent on this one as well. They're going to be absolutely silent. And they told us when Assad was toppled that this was going to be a government for all Syrians. It's like, that didn't actually play out the way Joe Biden said it would.
We will engage with all Syrian groups, including within the process led by the United Nations, to establish a transition away from the Assad regime toward independent, sovereign, independent, I want to say it again, sovereign Syria, with a new constitution, a new government that serves all Syrians. And this process will be determined by the Syrian people themselves. And the United States will do whatever we can to support them, including through humanitarian relief, to help restore Syria after more than a decade of war.
So again, this is all been a long-standing plan by the Democrats and the deep state to get rid of Bashar al-Assad, but now we're in the land of unintended consequences. You don't have to say Assad is a good guy to say that what's happening now is absolutely awful. And Joe Biden and his government were sending these moderate rebels humanitarian aid. Yep. The same rebels who are now murdering Christians in the street. You say rebels, I say terrorists. They called Tulsi Gabbard a Russian agent for warning about these Syrian rebels, mind you. During her confirmation hearing, she said that the Christians in Syria are going to feel the brunt of this, and it took about a month. It took about a month for it to come true.
I shed no tears for the fall of the Assad regime, but today we have an Islamist extremist who is now in charge of Syria, as I said, who danced on the streets to celebrate the 9/11 attack, who ruled over Idlib with an Islamist extremist governance, and who has already begun to persecute and kill and arrest religious minorities like Christians in Syria.
I understand.
Why that should be acceptable to anyone is beyond me.
It shouldn't
is
be.
certainly
and
not
I understand,
in our
and
interests.
I appreciate.
Why that is acceptable to anyone is beyond me. Tulsi Gabbard, again, took a month for her to be proved right. And then this is just Western leadership, apparently, that's all fine with this. You know, after these moderate rebels took over Syria, the European Union eased sanctions on Syria post-Islamist takeover. And this was all well and good. This was nothing to bat an eye at. Yet I'm sure the EU has been relatively silent when it comes to the Christians being murdered in Syria. We're constantly told that Russia is the big enemy, but I saw a video last night of Russian soldiers protecting thousands of Syrian Christians who are fleeing from the uncertainty and the likelihood of death with these moderate rebels. Yeah. Yep. Russia's the enemy, though, right? It's just so sad what's happening in Syria. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that we won't see the kind of coverage that we need to see on this. But this goes with what we've been seeing so many other places too, right? Like if it doesn't make sense for the mainstream media to cover it, they just won't. If it makes Christians look like a persecuted group, well, they're not going to cover it. If it makes white people look like a persecuted group, well, they're not going to cover it. We saw that with South Africa as well. Donald Trump recently calling for a pause on all federal funding to South Africa because of how they're attacking white farmers, and Trump is also offering asylum to any farmer and their family wanting to escape South Africa to America. I think we should extend that same olive branch to Christians in Syria. Trump posted this on Truth Social yesterday, over the weekend. South Africa is being terrible, plus to longtime farmers in the country. They are confiscating their land and farms, and much worse than that, a bad place to be right now. And we are stopping all federal funding. To go a step further, any farmer with family from South Africa seeking to flee the country for reasons of safety will be invited into the United States of America with a rapid pathway to citizenship. This process will begin immediately. I think that we could do the exact same thing for the Syrian Christians. I think it would be the right thing to do, as opposed to turning a blind eye, because that's what the mainstream media is going to do. That's what your elites are going to do. They're going to turn a blind eye to this. Make no mistake about it. You're not going to hear about this on Fox or CBS or NBC or ABC. You just won't. This is a story that's going to relatively go under the radar. Unless you're on a free speech platform like X, where you can find these videos in real time, this is going to be a story that's very hard to cover for a lot of people. But it's heartbreaking, to say the least. 7,000, at least 7,000 Christians and Alawites murdered in Syria over the last 3 days by the moderate rebels that everybody was so excited were taking over after Bashar al-Assad was ousted from power. The land of unintended consequences. We've seen this movie so many times. My prayers and my thoughts go out to all the Christians in Syria that are dealing with what they're dealing with right now. We will keep you updated on this story as more becomes available, and we will continue to report on it even when the mainstream media doesn't. It's 9:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Give up whatever might be the
We have breaking news this morning. President Trump has just escalated the trade war with Canada. We'll tell you what he ordered moments ago. And FBI Director Kash Patel's tribute to a Nashville police officer. Those stories coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. 24 minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. We love those guys. You can watch us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Hit like and subscribe while you're there. We do appreciate it. So we got escalations in the trade war with Canada. Okay. And hopefully today we'll hear about de-escalations in the Ukraine-Russia conflict. A big hurdle was cleared, though. Did you hear about the big hurdle that was cleared? An official apology letter was sent over to Donald Trump from Zelensky. Yes. And I got the video for you right here. Listen to this. This is Steve Witkoff talking about the apology letter that Zelensky sent Donald J. Trump.
Zelensky sent a letter to the president. He apologized for that whole incident that happened in the Oval Office. I think that was an important step. And there's been a lot of discussion between our teams and the Ukrainians and the Europeans who are relevant to this discussion as well. And I would like to describe it as progress. And so I would hope that there's a deal.
I hope there's a deal, too. They're calling it progress. And I wonder, I just want to see, like they let us see the Biden letter to Donald Trump. Like, I want to see the Zelensky letter even more. Dear Donald, I am so sorry.
While I write this letter, I have a tie on and a shirt collared.
Yeah. I picture him
no
just
more sweater.
Lighting candles with, a $100 U.S. bill, right? Just like moving it around, lighting candles. Yeah, I want to see that apology letter. You think he wrote it in English? You think he wrote it himself?
Parts of it were probably dictated. That's my guess. He said some stuff and was like, at least include
dictator's going to dictate.
Hey, man. That's how they roll.
All right, we'll see what happens with Zelensky and Trump and Russia and Ukraine. Donald Trump did say the other day, though, it's a lot harder to deal with Ukraine than it is to deal with Russia. This was him in the Oval Office just a couple days ago. Donald Trump talking about dealing with Ukraine.
I'm finding it more difficult, frankly, to deal with Ukraine. And they don't have the cards. They don't have the cards. As you know, we're meeting in Saudi Arabia on sometime next week, early.
Today.
And we're talking, I find that in terms of getting a final settlement, it may be easier dealing with Russia, which is surprising because they have all the cards. I mean, they're bombing the hell out of them right now. And I put a statement in, a very strong statement. Can't do that. You can't do that. Mr. President, we're trying to help them, and Ukraine has to get on the ball and get a job done.
Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, what Trump wants is peace. What Trump wants is no more humans going into the meat grinder that is the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And they want a deal, but we're going to need Zelensky to come to the table. The fighting has to stop. This has been echoed over and over and over again by Trump's team, both their envoy, Steve Witkoff, National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz. He has said something similar, crystal clear. The fighting has to stop.
The president has been crystal clear, and he's been clear to all sides. The fighting has to stop. Both sides need to get to the table. We had a good engagement. Both leaders have said only President Trump could do so, and only he has been able to do so. We had an initial engagement with the Russians. The Ukrainians had a great opportunity to bind our economies together through that mineral deal. Unfortunately, that didn't go so well, but we think we're going to get things back on track. Secretary Rubio, myself and Ukrainian delegation will be meeting in Saudi Arabia next week to get these talks back on track, get a ceasefire in place, and drive peace home.
Listen, the talks are going to be happening today, Saudi Arabia. Fingers crossed that peace can be achieved. That's what we need. That's what the world needs. We don't need to be slow walking towards World War III anymore. we need peace. Now, was the X attacks yesterday done by someone in Ukraine? That's what Elon Musk suggested during an interview with Larry Kudlow, and he had a lot more to say about Doge and the Doge efforts. I'm not sure if it was Ukraine. I'll let Elon tell you in a moment when we return, but I'll also tell you how easy it is to spoof your IP address to show that you're in Ukraine. I mean, I could honestly do it right now if we wanted to during the break. Like it's very, very easy. And one Trump ally spoke up and said, I wouldn't go so far to say it was Ukraine. We'll tell you about that when we get back. It's 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is 9:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Got to watch it in Pleasant View on 24, the eastbound lanes at the McMahon Hollow Road overpass. It is a crash reported there. Stop and go for a long time before it. Careful in that area. We have breaking news. In a surprise move, President Trump has raised the tariff on Canadian steel and aluminum to 50%. It had been set at 25% previously. This comes this morning in retaliation for Ontario placing a 25% surcharge on all electricity imports, make that exports, to the United States. Now, Ontario's Premier Doug Ford has also threatened to cut off electricity for parts of New York, Michigan, and Minnesota. President Trump once again raising Canadian steel and aluminum tariffs to 50%, and that has sent stocks sharply lower once again this morning. We've got the Dow Jones Industrials now down 464 points. The former volleyball coach at MTSU has been accused of emotionally abusing players. WSMV4 obtaining a memo from the university outlining the complaints that were lodged against Chuck Crawford.
The university said in its memo that Crawford created an environment of fear and intimidation and emotionally abused players. Crawford told us today that he's not perfect, but that he has always conducted himself with integrity.
That's Channel 4's Courtney Allen. Crawford resigned last month. A new coach has already been hired. Volunteers waded through the Cumberland River over the weekend, picking trash out of the water. The Tennessee Riverkeeper organization led the group. They said they removed more than 1,000 pounds of trash, including 17 tires. And a tribute from the head of the FBI for a Nashville police officer who passed away this week. In a post on X, Kash Patel called Precinct Commander Anthony McLean a hero for his 27 years of service at the Metro Nashville Police Department and his service in the U.S. Air Force. Patel saying that the FBI offers full support to his family and colleagues. McLean suffered a heart attack on duty last month and died of complications from that heart attack on Sunday. That's the latest news. We've got weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at Cover Nash. You know Shane Ring. I talk about him all the time. Great guy. I was actually just scrolling through Instagram, and I saw him celebrating his daughter. She won a big medal in it looked like gymnastics. This is Shane. Family-oriented, and when you work with Shane, you're going to be part of the family as well. He's been doing business with Cover Nash for over 20 years, and that experience in health insurance makes the difference. Shane can shop the entire market for you to find the best plan. He has over 75 different companies to shop from, every type of plan available in the market, and he can help you no matter what your health situation or your income level is. Don't let yourself or someone you know get taken advantage of by these car salesman type health insurance agents with limited overpriced coverage. Shane can easily be saving you 30 to 60% on your monthly premiums, and some of the plans that he can get you on will even pay you when you use them. So go ahead and give Shane Ring a call today. Let him know Chris Hand sent you. He'll show you how much you could actually be saving on quality coverage right now. You can reach Shane at 615-465-0023, or you can hit up his website, covernash.com. But the quickest way is going to be the phone number. Call Shane right now, 615-465-0023, to book an appointment with Shane Ring. Get a quality health plan managed by you, not the government, covernash.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
It's 9:38, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Elon Musk versus Mark Kelly, senator out of Arizona. That popped off on Twitter yesterday. In between the intermittent outages. Is that what they call it? Intermittent outages? Sounds official. Did you see Mark Kelly and Elon getting into it?
Heard the rumors.
It's kind of dumb, but it's news. It's news. Senator Mark Kelly posting on X, just left Ukraine. What I saw proved to me we can't give up on the Ukrainian people. Everyone wants this war to end, but any agreement has to protect Ukraine's security and can't be given away to Putin. Let me tell you about my trip and why it's important we stand with Ukraine. And then it has a little thread emoji, so you know it's a big long thread. I don't know if Elon read the thread, because he replied to that first post and said, "You are a traitor." So, whoa. Yikes.
Just blunt and straight to the point.
Didn't even add a period. You are a traitor. You are a traitor. Now, listen, I'm not going to go on out on a limb and say he's a traitor for visiting Ukraine. You can certainly make the argument, but I mean, that's harsh. That's harsh. Senator Mark Kelly responded and said, "Traitor?" Which I assume he said it like that. Traitor? Because that was a question mark. Elon, if you don't understand that defending freedom is a basic tenet of what makes America great and keeps us safe, maybe you should leave it to those of us who do. Shots fired. Shots fired. So we have senators and Doge executives in Twitter beef. Politics has become hip hop, right? Like remember in the early 2000s, late 90s, and like hip hop and rap beef. It's like this is politics now. It's WWF. We're watching Monday Night Raw, right? Don't you understand this?
I'd pay to see Elon Musk slam him.
It's all theatrics, though. Like
100%.
Both of these things. Even the "you are a traitor," I just feel like Elon's like, "Oh, this is red meat for the base." Yeah, we like it.
Little jab in there.
We like it. I'm here for it. "You are a traitor." He says, "What? How dare you? How dare you?" I think Elon personally is just a little bit upset about what happened yesterday, and there was rumors that the IP addresses that were causing the massive cyber attack in Ukraine, on X, originated from Ukraine. This is Elon Musk talking to Larry Kudlow yesterday on Fox Business, outlining just that the cyber attack appears to have originated against X from Ukraine.
There was a cyber attack on X today, which shut it down and may have been foreign sourced. Yes. It's a big story. You want to give us a moment on that?
Well, we're not sure exactly what happened, but there was a massive cyber attack to try to bring down the X system with IP addresses originating in the Ukraine area.
Originating in Ukraine, you say. Now, everybody's almonds are activated, and we're like, oh, it must be the Ukrainians who are upset, right? I don't know, not necessarily. Like, it would be very easy to pop on a VPN and make it look like your traffic is originating from Ukraine. I'm by no means am I a cyber tech expert. As you can probably see if you're watching on YouTube TV, on SuperTalk TV over on YouTube, like we're doing our best to hobble this thing together. We're not the tech bros, but I do know how VPNs work, and I do know how easy it is to hide your traffic. I mean, anybody can do that. You can do that on a lot of services for free. Now, obviously, this is much smaller than you would need for a cyber attack, and Elon is much smarter and well-versed in this stuff than I am, so maybe he already saw through whatever VPN they were using and said, no, it absolutely originated in Ukraine. Who am I to say? But one Trump ally, General Michael Flynn, you may remember, you may have heard of him. General Michael Flynn was talking about the cyber attack on X and said, check to see if the CIA was acting behind the scenes first before going off on China or Russia, please. There is a silent war still going on inside the United States to undermine the admin of President Donald Trump. Maybe. I don't know. I just found it interesting. So the hack did happen yesterday. That's what was going on with X. Elon blamed the massive cyber attack for the outages. And we have people taking credit for it. There was a big hacking group that took credit for it. And Breitbart has the story. Elon Musk's X, formerly known as Twitter, grappling with multiple outages. There still is, a massive cyber attack against X, said Elon Musk on the platform. Tom Guide reports that X, the social media giant formerly known as Twitter, faced multiple major outages in a single day, causing frustration, confusion among its vast user base. First outage occurred in the morning, with reports peaking at around 21,000 on the website Down Detector. The issue was resolved relatively quickly. The platform began to function normal for a few hours, but then that was short-lived. It happened again, and then it happened again. The second outage was more severe. Hit X a few hours later, way more users. Major cities across the United States were down: New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, unable to access it. Speculation about the cause of the outage began to circulate. Some users suggesting that X may be the target of a distributed denial of service attack. That's a DDoS attack. These attacks involve flooding a website or service with an overwhelming amount of traffic, rendering it inaccessible to legitimate users. I was trying to explain this last night to like my mother and father-in-law who were visiting. It's like, okay, say you're built to have 20,000 requests a minute. Now, I don't know how many they're built for, right? So just work with me on the numbers. Say you're ready to have 20,000 people access your website a minute, okay? Well, what the DDoS attack does is they request it 4 million times a minute. So essentially, you create a bottleneck and all the traffic is clogged. Nobody can get in. That's how I understand it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's in layman's terms. That's essentially what you're doing, and that shut them down for quite a while. In a post that remains hard to reach on X, Elon Musk wrote, "There still is a massive cyber attack against X. We get attacked every day, but this was done with a lot of resources. Either a large coordinated group and or a country is involved, tracing, ... Then 45 minutes went by. Second outage appeared to be resolved. Users went back to the platform. But that was short-lived. 30 minutes later, there was another outage on the app. As the third outage continued, users went to alternative social media platforms to voice their opinion. And we're still waiting on updates for what happened. You would think that these guys would be built for this. Apparently, this was a massive attack. Again, as Elon said, very coordinated, a group, very coordinated group, and or a country. Again, on the Larry Kudlow show on Fox Business, Elon said, "Listen, the IP addresses came from Ukraine. They came from Ukraine. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm not sure. Listen, not a tech guy." I'll wait and see where the chips fall. But they do say the IP addresses came from Ukraine. I got another piece of tech news here. This broke yesterday. A whistleblower said that Mark Zuckerberg and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, attempted to enter the Chinese market by promising censorship. I know. You're going to be very surprised by this one. Facebook promising censorship? What? Well, I knew it was, obviously. Well, first of all, what business wouldn't want to get into China, right? You have 1 billion plus people, huge market. I understand why businesses want to get in there. Not knocking them for that. Mark Zuckerberg wanting to participate in censorship, not shocked. Not shocked at all. I remember during the pandemic, I got Big Brothered quite a few times on Instagram and the like because I had controversial opinions. Just opinions like, I'm not sure this vaccine is going to stop you from getting COVID. Opinions like, I'm not sure this vaccine is going to stop you from spreading COVID. Opinions like, should we look at the Wuhan Institute of Virology? Those things got me censored. But we have a whistleblower now saying that, confirming Mark Zuckerberg's Meta went to great lengths, including developing a censorship system and potentially sharing user data in an unsuccessful bid to bring Facebook to China, according to a whistleblower complaint. The Washington Post has this whole story, and they report that a new whistleblower complaint filed by Sarah Wynne Williams, a former global policy director at Meta, revealed that the social media giant was prepared to implement extreme measures to gain access to the lucrative Chinese market. The complaint, seen exclusively by the Post, alleges that Meta was willing to allow the Chinese Communist Party to oversee all social media content in the country and suppress dissenting opinions. Anything for that dollar, right? This is why I didn't trust Mark Zuckerberg when he turned over a new leaf and wants to be pro-free speech now in the United States. I think that what Mark is doing is, well, it's a strategy of self-preservation, point blank. And according to this complaint, Meta developed a censorship system specifically for China in 2015. The system included plans to install a chief editor who would be responsible for deciding which content to remove and had the authority to shut down the entire site during periods of social unrest. Additionally, the complaint claims that Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg agreed to crack down on the account of a prominent Chinese dissident living in the United States after pressure from high-ranking Chinese officials. Wynne Williams, the whistleblower, supported her SEC complaint with internal Meta documents detailing the company's plans to enter China. When questioned about these efforts, Meta executives allegedly stonewalled and provided non-responsive or misleading information to investors and American regulators. The complaint also alleges that Meta faced intense pressure from the Chinese government officials to store Chinese users' data in local data centers, which Wynne Williams believes would have made it easier for the Chinese Communist Party to covertly access its citizens' personal information. That's Mark Zuckerberg. That's Mark at his core. He doesn't mind selling you out for a few bucks. Plain and simple. I don't trust him one bit. I don't trust the new tech bro persona that he appears to have developed in a lab. That's the real Mark Zuckerberg. Yes, I will sell you and your mother out for $1. That's Mark Zuckerberg. That's the Mark Zuckerberg I know. But I digress. That's other tech news. Elon had a lot more to say in his interview with Larry Kudlow on Fox Business, and he's talking about the savings that they're trying to get to at Doge. The goal is $1 trillion. I'll tell you what he said to Larry Kudlow when we get back. It is now 9:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
President Trump hits back at Canada, doubling the tariffs on steel and aluminum. Also, the most recognizable perk for Southwest Airlines flyers has just been canceled. We've got those stories coming up at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the dust-encrusted news closet. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. If you're watching the show over on YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe. We do appreciate it when you do. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. A lot to get to. A lot to get to today. The left still melting down about Doge. I don't understand why. Are you against saving money? Yep, apparently. I think they're against losing their slush funds. Let's be perfectly honest. But Elon had a big interview yesterday with Larry Kudlow on Fox Business, and he said the goal is to get to $1 trillion in savings.
Government more efficient, eliminate waste and fraud, and so far we're making good progress, actually. So our savings at this point exceed $4 billion a day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very significant.
You think you'll wind up getting to $1 trillion?
Yeah.
Of savings?
I mean, unless we're stopped, we will get to $1 trillion of savings.
Let's be fair. There's definitely an opportunity that somebody, some deep state actor, some bureaucrat, somebody's going to try and stop them. Unless we're stopped, we want to get to $1 trillion in savings.
That stuff can be translated. I mean, we had Russell Vogt, the OMB director, on earlier, through very rescission authority, impoundment authority. But I believe you said it earlier. It's an audit that will not gather dust on shelves. This is actually going to wind up with real savings, bend the spending baseline down.
Yeah.
I love Elon. This is real savings. This is really going to bend the baseline budget down. And he went, yeah. It's just, sorry, that's my Asperger's kicking in. Yeah. Yeah, it will be real savings. Hey, listen, the radical leftists, though, they're not too impressed with Elon Musk trying to save money, and they're really worried about the forgotten men and women of the United States, the federal workers. There's an unhinged leftist that was in D.C. yesterday with a mask that almost covered her eyeballs on her face. And if you're watching on Super Talk TV, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But this woman is very, very upset that Elon wants to save the country some money.
When you wake up or when you're on your weekend and you get the fork in the road message, or you get the subsequent 5 bullets, hey, what the hell did you do, you lazy federal worker, this week?
Oh.
How frightening is it that someone on X, the owner of X, speaks to you directly to say, what did you do last week at work? And if you don't answer, I am going to fire you.
Terrifying.
She actually pushes the mask up to make her even more blind.
Did you see the mask?
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Oof.
It's like almost covering her eyes. I feel bad. It's like, I remember this during the pandemic, people that were wearing glasses with the mask, and they get the fog when they get all heated and bothered. Yeah, her glasses are fogging up. You can see it if you're watching over on Super Talk TV. Hit like and subscribe while you're there on YouTube. We got a lot more to come with Doge. Lord willing, we got a lot more programs that we're going to be cutting. But we're already saving a bunch of money. VA Secretary Doug Collins revealed a massive amount of money saved after going through just 2% of the VA contracts. Yep. Wait until you hear this number. I'll tell you when we get back. It's 10 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, hello there. It's 10 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Got to watch yourself if you're traveling in Jolton this morning on 24, the westbound lanes. It's a rolling roadblock. It's near Whites Creek Pike right now. That's probably folks out there filling some potholes. President Trump has just slapped Canada with additional tariffs. Now he says the tariff on aluminum and steel is being doubled. Fox News' Bill Hemmer on the president's post on Truth Social this morning.
I've instructed my Secretary of Commerce to add an additional 25% tariff to 50% on all steel, aluminum coming into the U.S. from Canada, one of the highest tariffing nations anywhere in the world. This will go into effect tomorrow, he writes, tomorrow morning, March 12th.
Now, it comes after Ontario announced a new 25% tax on U.S. electricity customers in 3 states. The news of Trump making additional tariffs for Canada has sent the stocks down this morning. We've got Dow Jones Industrials down 558 right now. NASDAQ falling 83. S&P 500 index is minus 51 points. Meantime, President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance are reaching out to House Republicans. They want to get a spending bill across the line before a Friday shutdown deadline. House Speaker Mike Johnson says it is the last time he'll support a continuing resolution.
This White House is going to send us a budget that's going to request funding for a smaller, leaner, more efficient, effective, accountable federal government. That is a new paradigm for us, and we're excited about that.
That funding bill, though, would be keeping the lights on after Friday. It's going to be voted on this afternoon. A bill that would require Tennessee public schools to check the immigration status of children is headed for a House committee vote today after having passed the Senate Education Committee last week. That bill allows schools to either turn away or charge tuition to the families of people in the country illegally. This East Tennessee immigration lawyer tells News Channel 11 out of Johnson City that the law wouldn't stand a chance in the Supreme Court.
I think it clearly flies in the face of established precedent set by the Supreme Court in 1982 in Pyler versus Doe. Have that bill go up and eventually, hopefully, make it to the Supreme Court on a writ of certiorari and be heard and re-examine that.
That's attorney McKenna Cox. Expect protests outside of the State House today. Well, the change that Southwest Airlines customers had feared is finally here. No more free checked bags for most travelers.
The Rapid Rewards A-list preferred members and passengers who book their top-tier Business Select fares will get 2 free checked bags. Frequent flyers and Southwest credit card holders will get 1 free checked bag, and everyone else will be charged for their first or second bags.
That's CBS's Marissa Perlman. The new policy begins at the end of May. That is the latest news. We've got your weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
10:06, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners. You understand why you need them, right? Like everybody knows.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
BetterWater.com. Love those guys. They'll help you with your water. I thought it would get less funny playing that clip. It just gets better.
I think the little pause and reprieve we've had from it
you gotta have
was enough of a break that it was like, oh, yeah.
Take a break a couple times and then play it again, and it's funny again.
It's a callback.
Yeah, I like it.
We love callbacks.
And we love Better Water LLC. So, BetterWater.com. Elon Musk, he wants to save some money. You know, the federal government loves to spend the money. Elon wants to save the money. And it has your everyday unhinged leftists doing unhinged leftist things.
When you wake up or when you're on your weekend and you get the fork in the road message, or you get the subsequent 5 bullets, hey, what the hell did you do, you lazy federal worker, this week? How frightening is it that someone on X, the owner of X, speaks to you directly to say, what did you do last week at work? And if you don't answer, I am going to fire you.
How frightening is it, says the woman with a voice like nails on the chalkboard. Just how frightening is it to have to tell your boss how to do what you did last week? It's terrifying. It's shocking. It's just downright evil. Ugh. We can't keep letting Elon get away with this, right? No, we can't. I mean, why wouldn't we want 20 million people that are dead getting Social Security checks? Listen, this is what he said during his interview with Larry Kudlow on Fox Business. He said that there are 20 million dead people, definitely dead people, who are on the Social Security rolls getting Social Security checks. That's insane. That's insane. This is Elon with Larry Kudlow talking about those Social Security checks.
Why are the 20 million people who are definitely dead marked as alive in the Social Security database? Why were hundreds of millions of dollars of Small Business Administration loans were given out to people aged 11 and under, according to the Social Security? I mean, like, these must be some very enterprising 8-year-olds, you know.
And some pretty strong 150-year-olds.
Yes, exactly. As the president said, you know, we have an enormous number of people marked as alive who are 160. He didn't know the country was that healthy.
Yeah, honestly, that's Elon and Larry Kudlow yesterday. You know, I always joke. I say my kids want to go to summer camp, so you should hit like and subscribe. It'll help out. But now that I'm finding out that we got hundreds of millions of dollars in Small Business Administration loans given out to people aged 11 and under, I'm thinking I might go home today and tell the kids apply for a small business loan. Maybe you can go to summer camp that way. Apparently, this is doable now. Insanity. This is what your masked, unhinged leftists scream about on the steps of the Capitol. To protest Elon and Doge. We need more millions of dollars going to 11-year-old entrepreneurs. That's what we need. And then the other thing that they'll yell about and they'll scream about is like, oh, what about our veterans? Somebody think of our veterans. And it's always with the radical left. Hey, you didn't have this same energy during the 4 years of Biden when we had illegal aliens cutting our great veterans in line at the VA. That energy was really lacking. It was missed. I would have appreciated that energy for our veterans. But now that Elon is cutting waste and fraud and abuse, now they're worried about the veterans. Again, using emotional arguments to sway you. It's propaganda. Now, is the VA making cuts? Yes. Bet your bottom dollar they're making cuts. Are they cutting critical or essential employees? VA Secretary Doug Collins says no. What they are doing, though, is they're reviewing every single contract that they have on the books. And VA Secretary Doug Collins said that after reviewing only 2%, TWO, 2% of the contracts, they saved $980 million of money that was going out the door that was total waste. This is VA Secretary Doug Collins talking with Brian Kilmeade on Fox and Friends. This is yesterday.
I think we'll do. Let me give you two figures. The Democrats have talked about how the cuts have occurred in the probation employee layoffs. These things are hurting. That's less than 0.5% of our workforce that have been laid off. I don't think that's actually, and especially non-front-facing personnel. These were non-essential personnel, in which, by the way, if they happen to be caught up and they wasn't, there's an exemption that they could come back to work. Their supervisors chose not to use that exemption process in many of these cases. But also in our contracts, which their team has helped us find, we've only investigated 2% of our contracts at the VA, and yet found over $98 million when we look at this as we go forward. Going forward, $980 million. I'm sorry, apologize. It was a little bit more.
That's a big difference. That's a massive difference. They looked at 2% of their contracts, and they found $980 million in waste. 2% of the contracts. 2%. $980 million in waste. $980 million that could have been used to give our veterans even better health care. $980 million. 2% of the contracts. 2%.
Going for the $980 million. I'm sorry, apologize. It was a little bit more. $980 million. Almost $1 billion that we're cutting now to put back into patient care and working with our benefits. And we have over almost $1.8 billion total of contracts that are just canceled going forward. That's only 2%, Brian. And when you look at our process going forward, that's the kind of things that we need to make sure the VA is efficient.
Yeah, honestly, and we're not even at full strength yet. Let's be perfectly honest. We have not yet reached our final form. If you're a Dragon Ball Z guy, we have yet to go Super Saiyan. We haven't gone Super Saiyan yet. Mason put that in there just for me and Mason.
I love it. I love it so much.
My kids used to watch it.
I was just about to say, millennials understand. Millennials understand. Yeah, we haven't gone Super Saiyan yet. You got the reference, right, Joan?
Just somewhat. I didn't really watch it.
Jones,
you know what it's from.
Jones hip to the game. Don't.
I know the name Dragon Ball Z. I remember the characters, but yeah, I wasn't a fan.
You weren't a fan? No, not a fan.
Too much yelling. Too much
yelling. It was
punching.
It was too angry.
Yeah, a lot of action.
Yeah, a lot of action. But we're not Super Saiyan yet. The point remains true. We're not at our final form. They've only gone through 2% of the contracts of the VA, and they've identified $980 million in waste that they're now going to redirect towards patient care. What an unbelievable concept. I would have never thought. We could use that money to take care of the veterans? Wow. You would have thought that they'd been doing that. They would have done this before. Apparently not. So you got that going over at the VA. Over at the Department of Agriculture, they're canceling a bunch of contracts too. In fact, they canceled a grant that, excuse me for my language here. I wouldn't say this in front of my grandmother. God rest her soul. The Department of Agriculture canceled a grant that recognizes the menstrual cycles of transgender men. All right. I don't know if you would file that under waste or fraud or abuse, or if there's an all of the above option. I would lean towards all of the above. The Department of Agriculture has canceled a grant that recognizes the menstrual cycle in transgender men, highlighted by Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins last week. The grant was awarded by the USDA specifically for the Southern University Agriculture and Mechanical College in Louisiana. Yep, Louisiana. A description of the grant states that, in part, the first occurrence of menstruation occurs at approximately 12 years of age and ends with menopause at roughly 51 years of age. A woman will have a monthly menstrual cycle of about 40 years of her life, averaging about 450 periods over the course of her lifetime. It continues, contending that it is also important to recognize that transgender men and people with masculine gender identities, intersex, and non-binary persons may also menstruate. This is what we're spending our tax dollars on at the Department of Agriculture. What this has to do with agriculture, I'm not an ag guy. I would leave that to the ag people. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know. But they were spending $600,000 on this. That's what they were spending money on. $600,000, granted, seems like peanuts to the $980 million that they found in waste, fraud, and abuse after reviewing just 2% of the contracts over at the VA. But at the Department of Ag, you're studying the menstrual cycles of transgender men for $600,000.
They don't have them.
They don't have them. They don't have them.
I could settle that for them with no fee involved at all.
Send a couple of my kids to summer camp. I'll tell you about their menstrual cycle. This is where we're at as a country. This is what the masked Democrats protesting on Capitol Hill are so upset about. This. Canceled. $600,000 grant study to study the menstrual cycles in transgender men. This is not the first savings the USDA has publicly announced. They saved a $324,000 grant for increasing DEIA programming for integrated pest management. Diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility in pest management. I don't know when they added the A. Not a huge fan of the A. I don't like adding extra letters, but they always seem to. The acronyms always get longer, don't they? Acknowledgement of potential historical exclusion. The Regional IPM Center aligns with the USDA priorities to advance racial justice in pest management. This is where your tax dollars are going. This is what the leftists are so mad about. Again, the media will scream about this. The leftists will complain about this. They'll cry about this, and they'll make it a big deal. But again, this is an issue that the American people are fully behind. Saving some money in the government. Scott Jennings was on CNN last night, and he's talking to Abby Phillips, and I think that they're really tired of Scott Jennings. I think if anybody wants Scott Jennings to run for the senator of Louisiana, taking the Mitch McConnell spot, there's nobody that wants him to do that more than the folks over at CNN, because they're tired of getting owned by Scott, and they get owned by Scott on essentially what a nightly basis. Anytime he's on, he's owning them. And yesterday he was talking about how Democrats, legacy media, they're finding different ways to fight Doge, claiming they're against fraud and abuse. And he says, well, everybody wants to fight waste, fraud, and abuse until we find waste, fraud, and abuse, and then the Democrats have an issue.
Congress authorizes money for a program, or a program is duly authorized. That's not waste, fraud, and abuse. That's just something you don't like.
Abby, everybody wants to find waste, fraud, and abuse until somebody actually does it.
Do you think people...
This is the problem. This is the problem.
No. I love that. It's like everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Everybody wants to find waste, fraud, and abuse until they find waste, fraud, and abuse.
They're actually saying, okay, maybe this is waste.
Hold on for a second.
And then Washington goes crazy.
That's untrue. It's been done. The Clinton administration was able to put together an
30-something years ago.
Right, but the point of it is the way that
never happened. It's
been done. But the way that they went about it was to study for 6 months and then to take a longer time to understand which government jobs needed to be rooted out. He fired a bunch of people. He ended with a budget. It's been done. It's just the way that you guys are doing it.
I know. And the way that we're doing it is that you don't want us to do it. In 2019, we spent $4.4 trillion as a government. Last year, we spent $6.2 trillion. The government's gotten more expensive and much larger over the last 5 years. The only question Republicans have is, does it have to be this large and does it have to be this expensive? That's the question. And Elon's finally trying to cut into it, and the Republicans in Congress need to help.
You guys should start it.
Yeah, Republicans in Congress do need to step up and do need to help. We absolutely need that. But the leftists, they're finding themselves again on the losing side of another 80-20 issue. Whichever 80-20 issues you want to get on the wrong side of, don't interrupt the Democrats while they're making a mistake. But it seems like it's every day they're on the wrong side of the 80-20 issues. I'm here for it. Again, nobody supports Scott Jennings for the senator's seat in Louisiana more than his coworkers at CNN. Guaranteed. It's 1021. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Well, the pressure is on for House lawmakers to pass a continuing resolution and avoid a government shutdown. Also, how the University of Tennessee
and then just
rubbed the Trump administration the wrong way. We've got those stories coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
My bad, Joan. Just trying to keep you on your toes.
Well, thanks for that.
I was just as shocked as you were.
Yeah.
With my unprofessionalism playing audio clips over your news tease. Joan Jones got some great stories coming up. Trump versus UT. Looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Jones on the way, 10:30. It's 10:25. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can listen to the show on iHeartRadio, tune in the 99.7 WTN app. You can watch the show, Super Talk TV, over on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and our personal favorite, YouTube, where we have the most red-pilled chat happening every single show that we want you to be a part of over on YouTube. Hit like and subscribe while you're there. If you want to join the show, 615-737-9986. That's the number to call. That's the number to text. Gary in Spring Hill, what'd you do last week, Gary? You got 5 things for me?
Wait a minute. I'm in Springfield. I'm retired, but I was in the military for 20 years. I was enlisted, but I also retired as an officer. I had a plan, and I had to report what I did during the week. And then I had a really good job. I was chief fixed nuclear facilities for Tennessee Emergency Management Agency. Retired from there in 2012. I had to report what I did during the week. I had to plan the future. So I was on task.
I think what I would have to ask you, Gary, is are you okay? Because I hear from masked liberals that this is a very frightening experience, having to tell your boss what you did the previous week.
Actually, it's very fruitful. It made me happy because I was in competition with myself, and I was proud of what I did in both careers.
I love it, man.
I was happy. So I don't know what the problem is. I mean, what are you there for? Serve the people, right? Serve country and state.
Amen. I think the main problem, and I appreciate the call, Gary. I think the main problem with the mass liberals protesting Elon over at the Capitol and protesting Trump, I think the main problem is just a bit of TDS. And I also think that it's the Democrats are rudderless. They don't really know what to yell about. They've gone into this cycle for so long that whatever Trump says, we got to go the exact opposite way as hard as we can, no matter what. And they're finding themselves on the wrong side of the 80-20 issues. The overwhelming majority of the American public, like 79%, I think was one of the polls I saw, 79% support what Elon Musk and Doge are doing. Yeah. Except for your radical progressives, your radical leftists. The Democrats are screwed. Let's be perfectly honest. Even Van Jones over on CNN admitted last night the Democrats are screwed. He said they don't know what to do. They at least thought Hakeem Jeffries could hold Trump back, but it doesn't seem like that's the case anymore. And Van Jones describes this as an internal crisis.
And then just lastly, Van, in terms of Democrats and where they go from here, this last week we did see them some people try to protest during the president's address and then House leadership getting on to them, other Democrats calling them out. They still seem to be wandering around trying to figure this out. What's your take?
What's your take, Van? Well, my take is that the party is imploding and it's full of trash people doing trash things. He doesn't quite say it like that, but I think that's what he was thinking.
Can we ask another question? Do I be talking about my own party?
My mom told me if I don't have anything nice to say, I shouldn't say anything at all. Can we please do something else? Says Van Jones.
Can we talk about Ukraine or something? No. Look, man, we're screwed. I mean, we don't know. No, Democrats don't know what to do. This is a nightmare. Somebody like Donald Trump, we thought we'd at least have Hakeem Jeffries in the speaker's chair to hold him back if we didn't have Kamala in there to do the right thing. Listen, the Democratic Party is going through a massive set of internal crises. You have a party that got trapped two ways. One, defending a broken status quo that nobody likes.
Facts.
Because they thought that Donald Trump was going to make it worse. But when you're defending the status quo, you're going to lose. And then offending most people in the country, calling everybody sexist and racist and transphobic and every other name, and then saying, please follow us. That's not a good strategy, folks.
What you mean insulting the American people and then saying, please vote for me isn't a working strategy?
Go figure.
I was today years old when I found that out. I had no idea. I at least like the honesty and the openness from Van Jones. Can we please talk about something else? And I think most of the audience would say yes. Let's please talk about something else. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's 10:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Drivers will want to know that 24 westbound in Joelton still has that rolling roadblock. It looks like they're filling potholes. Rolling roadblock now. 24 westbound Whites Creek Pike exit 35. In the news, Congress is taking a vote on a continuing resolution that would avert a government shutdown on Friday.
With House Democrats vowing to withhold their support, Republicans can only afford a single defection. And Vice President Vance heads to Capitol Hill today to rally Republicans. Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massey, who's a frequent no vote on continuing resolutions, says he'll vote against this one, too. Overnight, President Trump called Massey a grandstander who should be primaried. If the spending bill does pass the House, it'll be up to Doge-wary Democrats in the Senate to decide whether to block it with a filibuster.
That's ABC's Stephen Portnoy. Well, it appears that the University of Tennessee is under investigation by the federal government. The university received a warning that its funding could be pulled after anti-Semitic protests on campus last May. News 2's Elisheva Wemberly.
UT Knoxville issued a statement saying, quote, the university takes its responsibility to maintain an environment free of illegal discrimination very seriously. Anytime we are made aware of any issue, we provide support and resources to any potentially impacted students.
60 colleges around the country received that federal warning that they have an obligation to protect Jewish students on campus. The bid to rename BNA for President Donald Trump is getting some new life. That bill originally brought last month. It was removed from consideration. But now Chapel Hill State Representative Todd Warner has brought it back. He says Trump is the only second president ever to be elected to non-consecutive terms, and he received 65% of the Tennessee vote. Well, stocks are mixed right now after President Trump levied new tariffs on Canadian goods. Dow Jones Industrials right now down 376, but the Nasdaq is up 38. We've got the S&P down 20. That is the latest news. Weather's up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, it's Chris Hand here from my friends at the Glock Store. We're so lucky to have these guys. If you're watching us online, you can always shop online at the Glock Store, glockstore.com. But for my locals here in Nashville, man, are we blessed to have that beautiful showroom right here in our city. Now, one of the reasons that Glocks are the most popular handguns in America, well, it's the wide availability of customizing parts and performance parts. And I mean, you can go a number of different directions. Competition triggers, red dot optics, magwells, extended control. There's too many to list. I'll be honest. I'd spend the whole time listing all the parts. I don't want to do that. But if it's for a Glock, you can rest assured they have it at the Glock Store here in Nashville. And if you're in the Glock Store, not shopping online, well, then they have a gunsmith on duty. And they'll install all the parts you buy for your Glock for free while you wait. I'll say that again. The gunsmith on duty will install all of the parts you buy at the Glock Store for free while you wait. There's a lot of reasons like the Glock Store. Free parts installation is just one of them. You'll find even more when you get there. Minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere. That's the Glock Store, and you can even shop online, glockstore.com. .37 minutes past the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Hey, how are you? Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. We love those guys. Get yourself a water filter. We love everybody over on the YouTube chat. You can watch our show, Super Talk TV. It's on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and our personal favorite, YouTube. Hit like and subscribe while you're over there. We're trying to add more video elements into the live stream. It's a work in progress, but we're getting better. We're getting better. And hopefully it makes for a more engaging experience over on YouTube. We're going to be trying doing that more. I think we need to.
Yeah, we're trying to push away from Chris staring off into space during the show.
Yeah, it's like I'll play a video clip and then I'll be, it just looks like I'm staring at my screen awkwardly for 30 seconds.
No, we know you're zoning out.
I'm zoning out.
You're not paying attention.
So we want you to see the video that I'm seeing. So we've been trying to implement some new stuff. It's a little glitchy, little bit slower than we want it, but we're working towards something cool. So appreciate you guys dealing with that over on YouTube. And hit like and subscribe while you're there. Did I say hit like and subscribe? Hit like and subscribe.
I think, doesn't that help send your kids to summer camp this week?
It's either that or I have to put in for a small business loan for the kids. But apparently we had hundreds of millions of dollars going out from the Small Business Administration in the form of loans to people aged 11 and under. So we're going to be exercising all the options that we have for that for summer camp when we get home.
Hey, take advantage of it while you can.
Listen, if you're giving out the money, my kids can start a small business. Trump is going to double Canadian tariffs on steel and aluminum. Says the only thing that makes sense is to make Canada the 51st state. I love this. Trump today said he's doubling the tariff on aluminum as well as steel on Canadian imports, while also saying that it only makes sense for Canada to become the 51st state. Trump put this on Truth Social a little while ago. Based on Ontario, Canada, placing a 25% tariff on electricity coming into the United States, I've instructed my Secretary of Commerce to add an additional 25% tariff to 50% on all steel and aluminum coming into the United States from Canada, one of the highest tariffing nations anywhere in the world. This will go into effect tomorrow morning, all caps, March 12th. Also, Canada must immediately drop their anti-American farmer tariff of 250% to 390% on various U.S. dairy products, which has long been considered outrageous. I will shortly be declaring a national emergency on electricity within the threatened area. This will allow the U.S. to quickly do what has to be done to alleviate this abusive threat from Canada. If other egregious long-time tariffs are not likewise dropped by Canada, I will substantially increase on April 2nd the tariffs on cars coming into the U.S., which will essentially permanently shut down the automobile manufacturing business in Canada. Those cars can be easily made in the USA. I love it. I'm here for it. It's getting spicy. He continues. Also, Canada pays very little for national security, relying on the United States military for protection. We are subsidizing Canada to the tune of more than $200 billion a year. Why? This cannot continue. The only thing that makes sense is for Canada to become our cherished 51st state. I'm sorry. I just like how he threw in the word cherished. The only thing that makes sense is for Canada to become our cherished 51st state. This would make all tariffs and everything else totally disappear. Canadians' taxes will be substantially reduced. They will be more secure militarily and otherwise than ever before. There would no longer be a northern border problem, and the greatest and most powerful nation in the world will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever, and Canada will be a big part of that. The artificial line of separation drawn many years ago will finally disappear, and we will have the safest and most beautiful nation anywhere in the world, and your brilliant anthem, "Oh Canada," will continue to play, but now representing a great and powerful state within the greatest nation that the world has ever seen. The trolling continues. I love it. And your anthem, you can keep it, he said. He said, we're not going to cancel "Oh Canada." It would just be the anthem of your state. Do states have anthems? Do we have an anthem in this? Do we have state anthems? I don't know. Maybe that's a dumb question.
I mean, I'd consider it like Rocky Top.
I've just never thought of state anthems before.
Yeah, I haven't either. I don't know if like fight songs for colleges is like the best I think we've got right now.
Yeah.
I'll look it up though. State anthems.
I don't know. Somebody on the super text line will know, and they'll be like, "You're an idiot. What are you talking about?
How'd you not know about this?
What, you didn't know about the state anthem?
I sing it every morning.
It's Dolly Parton, 9 to 5.
I wouldn't fight against that.
No. Who would? All right, so Trump is very upset. He says, we're going to take everything from you except for your anthem. That'll just be your state anthem. The post comes after Ontario Premier Doug Ford said that there would be a 25% surcharge on electricity going to the states of Michigan, Minnesota, don't you know, as well as New York out of the Canadian province. Trump slammed Ford, saying that with the April 2nd deadline for the reciprocal tariffs Trump will be implementing, the U.S. will just get it all back. The president previously made statements similar to the post, where he was floating the idea of having Canada as a 51st state, and everybody thought it was a joke. He's trolling. It does seem like he's a bit serious on getting Canada as our 51st state. But this all comes in response to what Doug Ford said. I think this was yesterday. Doug Ford's been acting just, he's so tough, don't you know? His brother got kicked out of office for liking crack cocaine a bit too much, but he's standing behind a podium and it says, "Canada's not for sale, eh?" And I added the A, but they'll say it too. This is Doug Ford yesterday.
We've been faced with so much uncertainty coming from President Trump. Each day brings new tariff threats. Now, President Trump is threatening tariffs on steel and aluminum. He's pointing his finger at dairy and lumber, shifting timelines, different excuses, chaos and confusion. It's hurting workers, it's hurting businesses, it's hurting investments, and it's hurting families on both sides of the border. It needs to end. That's why I've been crystal clear. Until these tariffs are off the table, until the threat of tariffs is gone for good, Ontario will not relent. We will not back down. Pausing some tariffs, making last-minute exemptions, it won't cut it. We need to end the chaos once and for all.
I mean, well, there's some very easy ways to end it, right? Like just eliminate the tariffs on your side on dairy and lumber and step up your enforcement of border security. Like it seems relatively easy. Doug Ford talking a big game, though, saying, hey, if it doesn't end, we're coming after your electricity.
We need to sit down, work together, and land a fair deal. A deal that gives businesses the confidence to invest. A deal that gives workers the security they need and deserve. Until then, Ontario will keep up the fight. We will apply maximum pressure to maximize our leverage. That's why today we're moving forward with a 25% surcharge on electricity exports. For the 1.5 million American homes and businesses that Ontario powers, homes and businesses in Minnesota, Michigan, and New York. This surcharge will cost families and businesses in these states up to $400,000 each and every single day. On an average, this will add around $100 per month to the bills of hardworking Americans. Let me be clear. I will not hesitate to increase this charge.
He has the power to do this in Ontario? I don't know how that works. Their government's funny and wonky and doesn't really make any sense. I mean, they just essentially put a globalist in as their prime minister who never even, like, did he grow up in Canada? I don't even think he grew up in Canada. Is Doug going to get away with this? I don't think so. If Trump plays the long game, there's no way Canada can win, period. There's just none. So, I mean, listen, they can keep acting tough. I think they would be better served to come to the negotiating table. But that's Canada for you. That's Canada doing Canada things. Meanwhile, Trump just wants to focus on the economy. We need to get our economy up and rolling. And now I understand the stock market took it in the shorts yesterday. They might take it in the shorts again today. The New York Post has an article, and it says, "Ignore the stock market. Wall Street dealing with painful detox from government spending addiction." Yeah, I tend to agree with this. Wall Street's puking big time, and the sell buttons are working overtime whenever the word tariff passes from Donald Trump's lips. If you listen to the fat cat community long enough, you'd think Trump has been in office 4 years rather than 4 weeks, and that a small trade surcharge on a car from Mexico is leading the U.S. into economic Armageddon. I'm no fan of tariffs for lots of reasons, including that I hate paying too much for stuff, but I've also taken enough econ and studied markets long enough to know that they're not the end of the world as we know it. I also know that the Trump economic plan is much more than tariffs. It's about tax cuts, deleveraging the federal government's involvement in the private sector and allowing the private sector to thrive. It's about unleashing the animal spirits of the U.S. entrepreneur through deregulation. Yes, what Trump wants to do and has to do, given the load he was left with, was always destined to create some short-term pain for the long-term gain. That's where we're at right now. Yes, the stock market, it doesn't look great, but they're detoxing from the government spending. We're trying to change this economy, And we're trying to build it with a solid foundation so that way we don't have these issues in the future. Scott Jennings was talking about this over on CNN, the changes that Trump is making to the economy and why this is going to be a good thing.
It's never, I think, a smart idea to analyze the health of an economy or the long-term possibilities of an economy based on one day in the stock market. That having been said, I think what the president has said is true. He's trying to make major structural changes in the way our economy works. We've turned off the supply of free money coming out of COVID.
Yep.
That combined with these tariffs, which is supposed to bring more onshoring of American manufacturing jobs, it is a long-term structural play, and obviously there are going to be some bumps in the road. The question is, short-term politically, what does that mean for him and what does that mean for the Republican Party? I think it'll help if the Congress goes ahead and makes permanent his tax cuts and other things on energy they're wanting to do. But look, he's been very honest. Bumps in the road are coming. But the long-term play here is overall net positive for the United States and the working men and women of the country.
Yeah, and listen, we're already seeing some of this net positive happening. Under Biden, we lost like 111,000 manufacturing jobs last year. So what? Right around 10,000 a month. First month under Trump completely reverses that. We add 10,000 manufacturing jobs, 9,000 in the auto industry. Trump is absolutely transforming this economy. Yeah, there might be some bumps in the road. Yeah, it might get uncomfortable, but we have to do it. Like there's no other way around this. It needs to be fixed. And there's going to be people out there screaming and yelling that this is so bad. Have you seen the stock market? Oh my gosh. And I would just say zoom out a bit. We've seen the stock market be bad before. We'll see the stock market be good again, and then we'll see it be bad again. And it ebbs and it flows. But what we want to do is make this economy stronger. So on that same panel with Scott Jennings, we had disgraced Senator Al Franken. And Jennings said to him, listen, are you going to judge a presidency based on 6 weeks? Are you? And Al Franken said, well, no, of course not.
Let me ask you a question. You've been around a long time.
Yeah.
Would you judge a presidency based on 1 day or 6 weeks?
6 weeks.
You would judge
you
a whole
gave me a choice. You gave me a choice.
I'm asking, would you judge a presidency on 1 day in the markets or a 6-week period after having just taken over?
I wouldn't. But if he's someone who said, as soon as I take office, what you're going to see is prices lower and growth, and the economy is going to be great, then you can hold them to the 6 weeks and say, no. That's what's happened is the opposite of what you promised when you're on the campaign trail.
So in 6 months from today, if it looks like we do have an upswing in manufacturing and it looks like the structural changes are benefiting people, will you come back and say, Lord have mercy, it looks like he was right?
I will.
I wouldn't hold your breath on Al Franken coming back to CNN to say Scott Jennings and Trump was right, but I think the sentiment here is true. Let's give it some time. Let's review this 6 months down the road and see where we stand. Is America going to be in a better spot economically in 6 months than we are today? I tend to think that answer is a firm yes. Maybe I'm wrong, but we're going to need time to figure it out no matter what. Otherwise, we're just shouting off into the sky, hoping that we're right. It's going to take time to figure this out. I do think Trump has a plan. I don't think he's as much of a madman as some of the left will say that he is. I think all of this is very, very calculated. Excited to see what happens with our 51st state, though, our cherished 51st state, Canada, and those electricity surcharges from Ontario. What a mess that started into. Play the long game. Canada can't win. It's 10:51. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand here for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. It is that time of the year. We're calling it Spring Rebate Madness. Yeah, it's a play on what happens this time of the year. But we can't say that. But we can say Spring Rebate Madness. And the deals are unreal. The rebates are actually pretty mad. Mini Split 17 SEER or Heat Pump 17 SEER. You get one of those, you get an $800 rebate. Heat pump, 15, 16 SEER, $500 rebate. Maybe you don't need one of those. Maybe you need some duct repair or some sealing. Well, that can land you a $300 rebate. Tune-ups, $50 rebate for each one. So you join that Beehive Club today at $99. You get your spring tune-up and a $50 rebate. Then you get your fall tune-up and a $50 rebate, and boom. You've just paid for the entire Beehive Club membership, and it comes with so much value. 3 annual tune-ups, 10% off all repairs, front-of-the-line service, a $100 annual accrued replacement credit, no overtime or holiday fees, and exclusive Beehive member promotions. What are you doing? Call Busy Bee today, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
President Trump hitting back at Canada, calling it an abusive action to go after the electricity of innocent Americans. Meanwhile, House Speaker Mike Johnson trying to sell that budget Republicans are proposing to avoid a government shutdown. We'll tell you what he says about cuts to Social Security and Medicare coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, Mike Johnson can keep selling that thing. You know who's not buying?
Who's that, Brother Chris?
Thomas Massey.
Yeah. No.
He's not buying one bit. And I'll tell you what, I've been encouraged. You know, Trump goes after Massey on Truth Social and dresses him down. And The overwhelming chatter on the internet is like, yeah, we still like Thomas. The overwhelming chatter from conservatives and moderates and independents is, yeah, we still really like Thomas Massie.
Well, he's of the thinking that you need to just rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. But Thomas Massie's not dealing with what Trump wants to do. He's not voting for it. There's no way that ever happens. I would bet a lot of things that I probably shouldn't bet that Thomas Massie's not voting for that. Honestly.
No, he's. In fact, I could probably look it up right now, and he's probably already typing no.
Yeah. Trump has declared war on Thomas Massie, vows to lead primary challenge after Massie opposes Trump-endorsed funding bill. Again, I love Trump. There's no way you're going to dethrone Thomas Massie. There's just none. Massie is principled. People really like him. There's nothing you're going to do. Like, Trump can be angry. And we've seen this movie before. Don't ever forget that when the stimulus checks were being debated over Christmas, right before Trump left office, after that election was stolen, Thomas Massie was one of the lone voices that said, "I don't want to do this," and Trump roasted him. Thomas is still here. Still complaining about the spending. He's not going anywhere. And yeah, you can vow to lead a primary challenge. That's okay. I would consider that a misstep from Trump and his team. Personally, I think that you'd do a lot better bringing Massie into the fold and saying, okay, how do we make this better? Personally, I think that would be a better move. But hey, I'm just a humble radio DJ, but a humble meme farmer. I just pay attention to the conversations online, and I'm just here to tell you, people really like Thomas Massie. They really, really do. People like my next guest, Bernadette Pajer. She's going to be joining the show. She's the Tennessee director for Stand for Health Freedom. Very excited about this conversation. She's up at the Tennessee Capitol today, the Capitol building. She's trying to kill a bill. This is really going to make the ears perk up on all of our Maha bros, our RFK bros, the Red Pilled Moms Club. This one is for you. Bernadette Pajer is going to join the show next. Tell us what bill she's wanting to kill and why. It's going to be a good conversation. Hang out with us. 11 o'clock, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Drivers, I'm seeing a crash on the right shoulder over at the Eastern Split. Going to be 40 westbound before 2440. Full forecast in 5 minutes. Right now, the Associated Press just put out a news alert. Says police in the UK have arrested a man on suspicion of manslaughter over the North Sea ship collision. And President Trump hitting back at Canada, raising tariffs on electricity provided to 1.5 million Americans in Minnesota, New York, and Michigan. Starting tomorrow, Trump says 50% tariff on all steel and aluminum coming into the U.S. from Canada takes effect. He's also declaring a national emergency on electricity within the threatened area to alleviate what he calls this abusive threat from Canada. He says Canada will pay a financial price for being so low as to use electricity against innocent people. Meanwhile, House Speaker Mike Johnson trying to sell that budget Republicans are proposing to avoid a government shutdown.
This clean CR contains no poison pill riders, no policy riders there at all, no cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security, zero, no cuts to veterans benefit.
The House votes today. And news that impacts workers here in Tennessee. Nissan CEO Makoto Yoshida stepping down on April 1st. Current Chief Planning Officer Ivan Espinosa will take up that role. Yoshida is not the only top brass to step away on April 1st. Also stepping away will be the Chief Brand and Customer Officer and Chief Strategy and Corporate Affairs Officer. Nissan's expecting a $500 billion revenue loss for the full year. TikTok update, Mike Dubusky on new features aimed at keeping younger users safe.
TikTok is expanding its family pairing feature, which links the app on a parent's phone with the app on their child's phone. Now, family pairing gives parents the ability to set certain times for kids to use TikTok. In addition, the company says it's aiming to give parents more insight into who follows their child on the platform.
Last year, the Justice Department sued TikTok over its policies around underage users. Well, it's been 5 years today since COVID-19 was declared a global pandemic by the World Health Organization, and Dr. Cameron Wolfe at Duke University School of Medicine telling ABC News when it comes to long COVID, many questions remain.
We don't see it as a new condition very frequently now at all, because I think almost everyone has been infected or been vaccinated or multiple combinations of both. But for those who had that condition and suffer through it, many continue to be symptomatic. And I don't think we fully understand the science there for sure.
And this just coming in from the state capitol. A bill has passed that allows school districts to refuse students based on their citizenship status. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Six minutes past 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Very excited about our next guest. She is the Tennessee director for Stand for Health Freedom. Her name is Bernadette Pager, joining the show now. What's up, Bernadette?
Hey, Chris. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, thank you for being on. I understand you are very busy today. You're trying to kill a bill down at the Tennessee Capitol. What is the bill? Why does it deserve to die?
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. This bill, it's going to be heard in the Senate Agricultural Committee tomorrow and the House. The numbers are SB 527 and House Bill 809. So everybody talking about this, a buzz, believes it to be, and it is, a bill about the cancer lawsuits against Bayer and Roundup. This bill takes away the right to file a civil action against any product manufacturer of a pesticide.
Huh.
But so there's so many problems with this. So first of all, even though everybody knows it's pushed by Bayer, it's about them wanting to stop losing lawsuits due to their product. But Bayer and glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup, is not mentioned in the bill. The bill simply says the manufacturer or seller of a pesticide registered with the commissioner, in Tennessee and at the federal level, EPA, with this thing called FERPA, the Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act, is not liable in a civil action related to the labeling of the pesticide, including a product's liability action alleging a failure to warn. Okay? When you go look up this area code where this belongs and you look up the definition of pesticide, it includes pesticide, herbicide, fungicide, bactericide, a whole list of things. And the Tennessee Department of Agriculture has a list of all the registered pesticides in the state of Tennessee. Guess how many registered pesticide products there are in the state of Tennessee?
Oh, geez. Are we in the thousands?
Let's go for 15,400.
Oh, my gosh. So 15,400 products. All of these products would be shielded from civil action.
Absolutely. Yes. Now, here's a major clincher about this. The federal law, FIFRA, says explicitly in Section 3FD, registration, not a defense. In no event shall registration of an article be construed as defense for the commission of any offense under this act. Meaning just because it's got an approved FDA label is not full defense for the manufacturer, right?
Okay.
So, what that means is if you're sued and you're in court, you can say, well, gosh, it has a approved EPA label. That looks good. That's evidence for you, unless, let me see, I've got this written down here, unless there's evidence otherwise. And all civil litigation that comes to court is about evidence otherwise. This was not on the label. You did not tell me this, right? That's what civil failure to warn is all about, okay? And so there's a couple of really important things to know here. Why does this federal law say in no event shall registration of this product be construed as defense, against harm caused by this product? Because they know a couple of things. They know that when the label was drafted, by the way, all pesticide makers do their own research, their own safety trials.
Of course.
And they bring that information to the EPA, who evaluates it. They might look at other information out there about similar ingredients, but they only evaluate what is brought to them. They do not do safety studies. Number two, the EPA does not write product labels. The pesticide companies write their own product labels, and they submit them to the EPA for approval. Do you see where this could go wrong?
Yeah, it seems like a bit of a conflict of interest there.
A bit. So, and the EPA knows this. So this federal law knows that the label is only as accurate as the time it was drafted, that safety studies, even if you're honest, are limited in duration and scope, and the full impact of a product on humans, animals, and the environment can't be known until the product is used by a significant number of people for a significant length of time. So with all products, 10 years later it turns out to be something bad, it's that threat of litigation that makes manufacturers recall the product, reformulate the product, and if they can't fix it, they update the label with a new warning to say, caution, we've learned this, right?
Yeah.
So they want to remove that. That's why you can't use the label as the ultimate defense. They also know that because the manufacturers write their own labels and do their own science, that there are some dishonest players out there who will not tell all they know. right? They will hide it from the EPA, and sometimes they collude with the EPA. That happened in the case of Monsanto with glyphosate and Roundup. So, they want their labels to have the force of law. So they want people to trust them. But you can only trust them if you're allowed to take a civil action in order to be able to say, hey, because how am I, a citizen, going to find out if a company lied about their product safety?
Yeah.
Or how am I going to go gather, without the discovery process in a trial, I don't have access to their records. I don't have access to what they know, And so, you go round and round. If you can't prove that they violated FERPA or violated the label or did anything bad if you don't have access to their records. And you only get access in the discovery process of civil litigation.
So I guess my question kind of would be, who's pushing this and how are they positioning this as good for Tennesseans?
Okay, so Bayer is pushing this because they're tired of lawsuits, and they're going to farmers and threatening them. In fact, on March 7th, they threatened to withdraw Roundup from the market if these state laws protecting them don't pass.
So is this all intertwined with all these glyphosate ads that we've been hearing all over the state?
Yes, those are put out there by what's called the Modern Ag Alliance, which was founded by Bayer.
Oh, of course.
This is their marketing. They're behind the whole thing. Now, here's the thing, though. In year 2000, glyphosate came off patent. It's now, you can make it generically. And Bayer only has 25% of the glyphosate market globally. In Tennessee, I haven't been able to find exact numbers, but it's less than half, from what I can see, of Tennessee farmers use Roundup as their glyphosate source. So if Bayer follows through on their empty threat, which I doubt they will, because in their own records, they said that they have $100 million in sales every week, right?
Yep.
And they're a premium brand. They want customer loyalty. They're not going to pull their products. Are you kidding? It's an empty threat. This is what they did in 1986, where the vaccine makers threatened to pull vaccines from the market if they didn't get full liability protection.
Well, they're probably looking at the vaccine industry saying, we need to get on that level.
Well, but here's the thing. They're not even giving you a compensation program like they did with vaccines. It's just you're on your own if you get hurt by these products. And so, I'm not a fan of glyphosate. I want farmers to transition, but I am a realist. I know that farmers right now can't just immediately stop using it.
Yep.
It would hurt them economically, So I think the General Assembly should step up and potentially make sure if Bayer carries through on their threat, that they help these farmers out, make sure they know where they can get their generic brands and they can get the job done. But any farmer that wants to transition to regenerative organic, maybe let's help them out. Because let's face it, it was federal financial incentives that got them hooked on the GMO pesticide chemical way of farming. And we need to unhook them, They're in a tough spot. So pressure is being put on them, to do this. Again, it catches up 15,000 products.
Well, and I would think that some of these farmers are the guys coming down with the illnesses from the chemicals that they're spraying.
Oh, absolutely. The non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and there's so many other things because glyphosate is water soluble. It gets into the rain. It's in our food. It's in every wheat product, soy product, corn product, legume product. That's where they mostly use them. It's in the gelatin of animals, in their bones that eat the sprayed crops. And the gelatin is used in medicines, it's used in vaccines, and tests have shown that there's glyphosate in these medicines you're taking, in the live vaccines that use gelatin. It's everywhere, and there's hundreds of studies that show how it hurts human, animal, insect, and soil health. Right? So we do need to transition off of this. And guess what? Bayer knows this. They have got a glyphosate replacement product in production, and they're aiming for a 2028 launch date. It will be patented. They'll have exclusive rights to this. It's going to be $1 billion product because everyone wants to get rid of glyphosate. But if Tennessee protects them from civil liability, how hard are they going to work to make sure that's safe?
So I guess so we know that Bayer is behind it. When you hear the words Modern Ag Alliance, you should just recalibrate your brain and say Bayer. But which of our Tennessee reps are behind this? And I think it's important to name names in this area, because you're not defending Tennesseans, you're defending corporations.
Absolutely. Let me pull up. Rusty Grills is the House sponsor.
Rusty
and
Grills.
I've had many a conversation. Rusty Grills. Normally, Rusty and I get along. 99% of the time, we're aligned on issues. I have not been able to get him to understand what this bill actually does. We need an AG opinion on this bill.
It seems kind of simple what the bill does, right? Like, it seems pretty cut and dry what this is aimed to do.
It does, but he seems to be convinced by the lobbyists that Roundup is perfectly safe if you use it according to directions.
So, I mean, I guess you could say that Rusty Grills is you could make the argument that Rusty Grills is available for purchase from these big corporations.
Well, I'm a person I'm a Pollyanna, and I don't like to make those accusations. I don't understand why I can't get through to him, but we continued. I and my friend Amy Miller, we've spent literally 100 or more hours researching deeply into the law, into everything that's going on. I don't think they've spent a half hour even looking really at what this law does and what it impacts.
Really
the other co-sponsor in the House, Chris Todd, Johnny Shaw, and Hurt, I think his first name is Hurt. And in the Senate, for Bill 527, that's Stevens, I believe. Let's see, his first name is John Stevens.
Okay. So we got to shake these guys awake, essentially.
Yes. They cannot pass this. We want to protect farmers from losing their products because Bayer's threatening to take them. We need farmers to know you've got access to glyphosate products, even if Bayer, does a number on you and goes away. We also want to protect farmers from the harm of these products that they are exposed to.
Yep.
We don't want them harmed, their workers harmed, their children harmed, anybody in the environment harmed. The only tool that citizens, consumers have to keep these companies honest, these billion-dollar companies honest, is the threat of litigation. But you know what is going to drive the end of glyphosate? It's not threat of litigation driving the end of glyphosate. It's weed resistance. The crops the weeds they're trying to kill have become resistant to glyphosate, and they're no longer working. And farmers are having to use 4 or 5 different herbicides to try to control them. And that's why Bayer has now made a new product to replace glyphosate because it's no longer working. It's just like with antibiotics. You've made everything resistant to it. Now you've got to come up with a new one. And they're going to come up with a new one. And the only way we're going to make sure that it's safe or hold them accountable when it turns out not to be safe, if we keep our 7th Amendment right and our Article 1 under Tennessee Constitution right to hold them accountable in a court of law.
Well, and this is why I love what you do. We're talking with Bernadette Pager. She's the Tennessee director for Stand for Health Freedom. And I think it's important to point out, you do this job for free. You're not getting paid by any industries. You're not making money off of this. You're doing this because you're passionate about it and your heart's in the right place. And I thank you for that. I thank you for your dedication. I guess my final question would be, what's the call to action for the audience? What can we do to support you and to get this bill killed?
There's an action alert at standforhealthfreedom.com. You can go there, click on the action tab, click your way to the map in Tennessee. You will find the action alert there. Or you can just call your own senator and your own representative and tell them to please take action to oppose this. Even if they're not on the committee, they all meet in caucus. They all talk to each other. And you want your senator and your rep going into that caucus and saying, this bill cannot pass. This is not good for farmers. It's not good for citizens. We should not let the terrorist company known as Bayer hold hostage our farmers with the ransom being our constitutional right to take them to court.
So call your senator, call your representative, HB 0809 and SB 0527, correct?
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Bernadette Pager is on the line. She's the Tennessee director for Stand for Health Freedom. We're going to do everything we can to assist you in getting this killed. I appreciate you reaching out, Bernadette, with this bill, as always. Again, where can we find that information, the call to action?
StandForHealthFreedom.com.
StandForHealthFreedom.com. That's Bernadette Pager. She's the Tennessee director for Stand for Health Freedom. StandForHealthFreedom.com. Bernadette, I thank you for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.
Anytime. It's 11:22 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We talk about these guys all the time, my friends at Better Water LLC. I love the guys at Better Water. It's Chris Hand for my friends at Better Water. You got to get your water tested, and Better Water will test your water for free. Do you know what's in the water that you're drinking? Do you know what's in the water that you're bathing your kids or your grandkids in? It could be some nasty stuff. I mean, I'm talking about sulfur, iron, chlorine, bacteria, E. coli. There could be some gross stuff in your water. Do you know what's in your water? Well, call Better Water LLC today. They'll come test it for free. And then if you need some treatment options, man, they offer a full range of water treatment equipment, from reverse osmosis units, water softeners, specialized filters, UV lights, you name it. They got all of it, and they're based right here in Middle Tennessee. They're working out of Smyrna, and these are the same guys that treat the water at your local favorite coffee shop and the hospitals that you visit. They're the best. Go to betterwater.com to learn more, or you can give them a call. Talk to Craig. Talk to Brandy. Tell them Chris Hand sent you. Say, I need to get my water tested. 615-355-6063. That's 615-355-6063. Betterwater.com.
Well, a bill that drew quite the protest over at the state capitol has advanced in the state house. We'll tell you about that. And Speaker Mike Johnson selling that continuing resolution coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. It's 11:28 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Hey, how are you? Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. So, how's the stock market doing today? We looking all right?
Oh, I got to look at that, brother.
All right.
Let's see here.
Keep me posted. You know, there may be some bumps in the road, I've heard.
Well, right now, the Dow is off 526 points. S&P's off 46. NASDAQ down 58.
All right. So it could be worse.
It could always be worse.
It could always be worse. Listen, I trust Trump with the economy. I trust what he's doing with Canada and Mexico and the tariffs. He was saying the other day in that interview with Maria Bartiromo, he wants a dynamic country where private enterprises carry the day, not the government. And there's a New York Post article where they say, hey, Wall Street is painfully detoxing from government spending. This is Trump on with Maria Bartiromo.
Well, I want a dynamic country where the private enterprise carries the day, not the government. And I want a strong country militarily. We need that nowadays. You can see that probably better than ever before. So I rebuilt our military. A lot of it was given away to Afghanistan, but it was a lot, but a very small portion, in all fairness. But when you think about the billions and billions of dollars that was just handed over, but I rebuilt it. We're going to be rebuilding it again because we need that. We always need that. But we're doing a series of incentives, tax incentives and other things. The tax bill, I think, is going to be very important. The Democrats will fight us all the way. One thing I learned the other night, again, I could say, because it's my fifth such speech. And at the beginning, I said, I didn't know it was going to be as pertinent as it turned out to be, that no matter what I do, this group of people in front of us, I could come up with the cure to the worst disease that the world has ever seen. I gave other examples. I said, no matter what I do, they're going to sit there angry, insolent. You just see it. I mean, you see it, you can feel it. No matter what I say, no matter what I do, no matter who it is, they won't stand, they won't applaud, they won't clap.
No, they won't. And, they're now actively rallying against cutting taxes. And it's just another 80-20 issue loss for the left. The left is just completely lost. They're misguided at best. You hear some of them talk, and it's like, did you get new talking points? The talking points don't seem to go as far and wide as they once did, but you can sort of start to see which factions are linking up in the Democrat Party. It's like it's a splintered cell of a bunch of different groups. One group is standing against men and women's sports, or at least now making the observation that it should be a state issue. I'll talk about that when we get back. It's 11:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. And over at the state capitol. Channel 4 says those are people from around the state who came to Nashville to protest a bill that allows school districts to deny access to undocumented immigrant students. It is headed to the full House Education Committee after passing the K-12 subcommittee this morning. House Majority Leader William Lamberth explaining why lawmakers are doing this.
Every district in this state right now primarily asks for 3 things when a child enrolls in school: a birth certificate, proof of residency, and proof of immunizations. 2 out of those 3 they can actually enforce. The 3rd, they cannot. This gives an option to the local districts to require that proof of citizenship, just as they require proof of residency or immunizations.
Critics say the bill runs counter to a 1982 Supreme Court decision that guarantees all children access to a public education. Nashville Democrat State Senator Charlene Oliver, co-sponsor of a bill that guarantees access to birth control. The Tennessee Contraceptive Freedom Act covers condoms and birth control.
The reality is the vast majority of Tennesseans support access to birth control. Birth control in all its forms, whether it's condoms or emergency contraception, is health care. It's not a partisan issue. It's not a divisive issue. It's a matter of personal choice, privacy, and the well-being of families across our state.
This bill also calls on health insurance providers and health agencies to provide access. And in our nation's capital, Speaker Mike Johnson pressuring Democrats who might try to block a budget resolution he wants to keep the government open through the summer.
If congressional Democrats refuse to support this clean CR, they will be responsible for every troop who misses a paycheck, for every flight delay from reduced staffing at TSA, for every negative consequence that comes from shutting down the government.
House votes on it today. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
.1133 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand here for my friends at United Structural Systems. We are almost in that rainy season. If you have waterproofing issues at your home, man, you're biting your nails. You know it's coming. You know it can't be avoided. And you know you're getting water in your basement and your crawl space, and you're tired of it. Don't let this be another rainy season where you're dealing with that. Call United Structural Systems today. I get it. Listen, as homeowners, we pretend we don't see the problems at our house, and this is especially true with waterproofing. Now, if you ignore the problem, it's not going to get any better on its own. It's actually going to get far, far worse. That water's going to get in there. It's going to cause all sorts of damage. Damage like mold, damage like wood rot. That wood rot can lead to foundational issues. Do you want it to get worse, or do you want it to be fixed once and for all? If you like the latter, call United Structural Systems today. They have over 30,000 satisfied residential customers. They've been doing this work since 1994, and when they leave, they'll leave behind a warranty that is good for life. Even if you leave the home, the warranty can stay. That's how confident they are in the work that they do. You can be confident as well. Call United Structural Systems, 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, USSTN.com.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
.37 minutes past the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Hey, how are you? Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. If you want to watch the show, Super Talk TV's live, jumping, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. My personal favorite is over on YouTube. We got a chat that is unparalleled by anything else. It's the best chat. Hit like, hit subscribe while you're over there. I do appreciate it. Helps me feed the kids, get them into summer camp, all those things. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. However you may do it. Appreciate you. So we got the Democrats in disarray. Absolute disarray. Kamala's not the leader anymore, right? Like I think we can all agree on that. Kamala was where was she? She was doing something Human X or Feed's Eye. I don't know. That's what the banner says behind her. But she was trying to explain innovation the other day, and we didn't just dodge a bullet. We dodged a nuclear weapon. I'll just be perfectly honest with you.
I was willing to give up whatever might be the tracking of Kamala Harris's particular fondness for nacho cheese Doritos for the sake of getting a big bag of Doritos as I watched the Oscars.
That's the consumer behavior.
And that's right, but here's the thing.
This is when deep thoughts come in, okay? We got past the Doritos.
At what point do we also uplift and highlight the consumer's right to also expect, and you can debate with me if it should be a right, I think it should, to expect that the innovation would also be weighted in terms of solving their everyday problems, which are beyond my craving for Doritos, but about whatever, and I know the work is happening around, scientific discoveries, for example, to cure long-standing diseases. But I'm going to throw out another one. And you all, again, please get back to me any information you have. I would love it if there would be an investment of resources in solving the affordable housing issue in America.
The issue that you helped exacerbate with your wide-open southern border, that's Kamala Harris. Yeah. We got lucky. She's not the leader of the Democrat Party. Joe Biden's not the leader of the Democrat Party. Who is the leader of the Democrat Party? Some people will argue that it's Gavin Newsom, and he's definitely taken a turn with his new take on men and women's sports.
I appreciate but would you do something like that? Would you say no men and female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that.
It's an issue in fairness. Listen, people were shocked when he said that. And now you're actually seeing that quite a few Democrats received the exact same talking points when it comes to men and women's sports. And it seems to me like we have a new faction breaking out, the common sense Democrats, if you will. But they're not saying that you shouldn't have men and women's sports. They're saying now, this is the new talking point, that you should leave it up to the states. I thought they were anti-leaving things up to the states. Now they're fine with it. They're fine with it now. This is quite a few Democrats. Alyssa Slotkin, Adam Schiff. They're now saying let's leave this up to the states.
But for me, it's like, let the local community figure this out, right? In Michigan, we have a process in place where if someone who's born a boy wants to play in women's sports, you have to get a waiver. We've had it happen 2 times.
That we want to make sure that these decisions are made by the communities, by the schools and others that are the ones closest to us and understand. What we know is that we're talking about a handful of people, a handful of athletes.
Every young person, and I want those sports to be fair, I want those sports to be safe, and I have confidence that local schools and local communities can make those decisions without the federal government making them for them.
Oh, yes, it's a states issue. Men and women's sports.
For me, it's let the local community.
It's a states issue. Oh, okay. That's nice. Now they're fine with states issues. Now they're fine with states deciding things. They had issues with that before. But no, it's now a states issue. I would point out that the overwhelming majority of Americans are against men and women's sports. 79%, according to leftist CNN, 79% oppose having men and women's sports.
Such a clear
trend among the American public. So transgender female athletes in women's sports, only 18% of the country says that they should be, in fact, allowed to participate in women's sports. Compare this to the opposition. I mean, my goodness gracious, 79%. You rarely get 79% of the country to agree on anything, but they do, in fact, agree on the idea of opposing transgender female athletes in women's sports.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. No, we don't want men in our girls' locker rooms. We don't want men hurting our girls on the field. Like, no, yeah, 79%. This is according to CNN. 79% opposed. This is the Democrats. They are rudderless. They are on the wrong side of every 80-20 issue, this being one of the largest. Some Democrats are starting to see the light, and they're pivoting to make it, it's a states issue. Oh, local communities can decide this until a local community bans it, and then Democrats lose their mind. But, this is a states issue. It's just local communities. Okay. Now do abortion. Oh, we have an issue then. Oh, weird how that works out. But this is the Democrats. You're either just rabidly in support of it, or now you're taking a more, it's a states issue route. And it shows that they are not as uniformed as they once were. The leadership in the Democrat Party is frayed at best. Patrick in Nashville wants to talk about men in women's sports. What's up, Patrick?
Good morning.
What are your thoughts, man?
I don't know. I was just listening to you, and I had an idea. You were an athlete. I was an athlete. What about letting the kids in the sport at the school, or the kids in the school, decide if a certain person can play on the team? Is that fair?
I mean, why don't we let the kids decide if they should drink alcohol? And why don't we let the kids decide if they should be able to get tattoos at 13? No, I don't think that's fair at all. And I think especially putting that on the kids, it's not right because you got the social pressures that are going to mount up at school, not to mention the fact that a lot of these young kids are very susceptible to emotional propaganda. You know, what's the old saying? Like, if you're not a liberal in your early 20s, you have no heart, but if you're not a conservative by your 30s, you have no brain. Like, yeah, listen, it sounds nice, but I wouldn't.
I didn't think it through. I appreciate your thoughts.
No. I appreciate the call, Pat. Thanks so much, man. Let's go to John in Lebanon. What up, John?
Hey, man, if we apply a little common sense to the whole thing, tell me one reason, why do we not have women playing in pro football?
Honestly.
If it's okay for the men to go play with the women, why can't we have the women playing? I can tell you why we don't have women on a pro football field. Is because their career would end on the first game.
Yeah, well, I often say, like, with the men and women's sports issue, like, it's not fair. It's not fair. It's like, okay, well, show me a female to male transgender athlete that is competing against the boys and holding her weight.
There you go. Sew one on her and put her out there with those big dudes.
Yeah, you would never see it. It never happens because it's not fair and it just wouldn't work out.
It just does not make any sense, does it?
No.
Hey, guys, appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you, John. Thanks for calling, man. Let's go to Hank in Nashville. What up, Hank?
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. First question that popped to mind during the folks who are now saying that this issue should be a state decision. What happens during regional and national meets?
These new moderate Democrats are saying, well, that's for local communities to decide. It's above their pay grade.
It's not local. What happens?
Yeah, honestly, we all know, and we all know this is just insanity. And these are leftist Democrats. Alyssa Slotkin was one of those Democrats, and she distanced herself from Biden and Harris. And what we're watching is the art of self-preservation with a lot of these Democrats. Let's be perfectly honest. You're going to have quite a few Democrats lose on this issue, I believe, come midterm time, because Americans don't want boys in their girls' sports. It's just insane. It's insane. I don't know. I don't know how to wake people up to that. If you don't already see it, I don't know if you're ever going to see it. But 80% of the American population sees it and doesn't want to see it happen anymore. Let's go to DJ P in Nashville. What's up, DJ?
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, brother. Hey, what I want to know is who are the other 20% or 21% of people that think that a dude should be able to play with women. That's the scary part. The good part is not the 80. We got to look at the bad part.
This is true. This is true. I don't know who they are, but I could bet where they live. I bet you they're in West Hollywood. I think New York City. Maybe some spattered in Rhode Island, in Massachusetts, in Maine. Yeah, that's where those 20 are from for sure.
These people are sick. Anyways, love your show, bro.
Hey, man, appreciate you calling in. 615-737-9986 if you want to be part of the conversation. Don't forget, we are broadcasting live on Supertalk TV, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and our personal favorite, YouTube. Shout out to everybody on the YouTube chat today. Hit like, hit subscribe. We do appreciate it when you do. Our friend Chad Benson is back in studio. He's going to be joining us next. Let us know what we can expect on the Chad Benson Show on the way. And then, you know what I'm going to do for lunch today? Any idea what I'm going to do for lunch? I'm going to Steak and Shake.
Ooh. That's a pretty good choice.
Beef tallow fries, baby.
Ooh, yeah.
Did you see RFK yesterday on Hannity?
No, I didn't.
They went to a Steak and Shake, and they sat down and they had a meal. And then the funniest part of all of it, though, was Hannity was like, he's just being Hannity. He's like, I asked for a Diet Coke. only a small, just a little bit of ice. I was like, yeah, classic Hannity.
Sounds about right.
Like you're doing something cool, and you ruined it.
And you've
ruined it. Just a little bit of ice, please.
Just drink your Diet Coke.
Like, stop.
You going to the one in the borough?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
man,
yeah.
That thing is always packed.
Old Fort Parkway, baby. Here I come. I'm going to get me some of them beef tallow fries for lunch.
Yes, sir.
Well, we'll talk to Chad Benson, see what he's got coming up on the Chad Benson Show when we get back. It's 11:49, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. 53 minutes past the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand in studio with Chad Benson.
Hello.
Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com.
Gay frogs.
Gay frogs, you don't want them.
Never.
You don't. You can't.
Can't have them.
Betterwater.com.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
It's like Palm Springs down there.
Did you hear about the InfoWars reporter?
I did.
So InfoWars reporter, this hasn't, ABC and CBS and NBC won't cover this.
Actually, ABC covered it.
Really?
Yeah, several have covered it.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
it's been covered.
I stand corrected. But he's going home from the studio late night, and he gets to his house. He's brutally murdered.
Yeah.
Did they think it was targeted?
Well, of course InfoWars does. I don't know. They're not saying, the police, nobody's saying because they don't know. I mean, they've got to go through it, but it sounds...
Jamie White, right?
Yeah, it sounds like, I've heard so far today it was the Ukrainians. That's who did it. I'm like, really? Not the Russians? Of course the Russians do it to make Ukraine look like they do bad stuff. Found out it's the North Koreans. It's all here.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
But I did hear about it in ABC and everybody was covering it. Even my wife today said, she goes, see the thing about InfoWars? I said, I did. So that's crazy.
There's a noted conspiracy theorist and Sandy Hook denier and all-around evil man, Alex Jones.
But fitter than he used to be.
He's looking good.
He is.
He's looking buff.
He is. Well, when you have to pay $1 billion, you don't get to eat a lot.
This is true.
Says right here, detectives believe the suspects were burglarizing cars.
Oh.
That's why you got to be armed.
Yeah. It's Texas, right?
He apparently ran up on them. He came up on them in the process.
I don't know why you wouldn't be. Don't run up on burglars unless you're armed.
Or unless you didn't think unless you were just walking and they mistook you as somebody who's coming on to them.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Which is, that's always, is it plausible that that's it? Is it plausible that he was targeted by somebody? Yeah. Is it plausible that, you just don't know. But they'll find out.
It sucks, man. Young guy.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
so
that sucks.
But they did cover it, and I was like, well, I'm surprised they covered it.
Hey, touche. I stand corrected. What's the big story that you see today that you don't think anybody's given it the focus it needs?
Goodness me, there's a lot. Talk a little bit about Thomas Massey. I don't know if you talked about that battle that's going to go on. I love him too. Trump's going to primary. I mean, it's funny. I was on the interwebs. And I was looking, and for every one, go Trump, there was 10. Thomas, I love you, dude. Keep doing what you're doing. Yep. This wasn't a surprise, by the way.
No. This was never going to be a surprise. Everybody knew this was coming.
Even he said it in his truth post. He's always a no. Well, then why are you surprised?
I don't know.
It's not his fault you guys only have a few people that you can lose, although they have one more because a Democrat congressperson died the other day. So I think they have like 4 now.
But it's just crazy. We're going to primary Thomas Massey.
You can't primary everybody that goes against something you don't agree with.
And let's keep our energy on where it needs to be focused. Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski.
Yeah.
Like there are plenty of primaries to go around. Thomas Massey's not one of them.
No, he's not. And by the way, the other thing is he's like, like you're talking, you've got all the money, because Elon and Thomas get along great. He was the first person to buy a Tesla.
Yeah.
The first congressperson to buy a Tesla. He was on that horrible thing that Ron DeSantis when he opened up his presidential thing with Elon. So I thought that was a little bit much. We might touch on that. We're going to talk a little bit about the Mohammed Khalil, this whole thing.
Oh, the kid getting deported for protesting? But he's not a U.S. citizen.
No, but he's a permanent green card holder, which gives him basically the exact same rights.
But isn't there somewhere in the paperwork that says if you're agitating for a foreign country, then you can be removed for any reason?
Yes, but you have to go through the thing is, if it was a student visa, they could do that immediately. But it's a green card, so it has to go through a court system, and he hasn't been charged. And so you can't hold people indefinitely with just because you think. And
I got a few J6 prisoners. I'd like to text.
Exactly. You know what's funny? I said that today, and I had a person who was a J6 person who texted the show and said, "You're right. You shouldn't be able to hold people just indefinitely for no reason." And if you want to line it up, because it's about the Constitution, you want to line it up, make sure everything's correct. That you've got this guy. Because look, what I find that he has done and said about Israel and stuff is abhorrent. I'm not a fan, but I am a fan of the Constitution, and you got to do it right. So, just saying we're going to remove somebody, that's a scary thing.
Free speech is hate speech.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it's the only one that's protected, right?
100%.
And now, if he is, the funny thing is, they don't think he's done anything wrong as far as maybe the handing out the pamphlets. They think maybe the organization of the buildings may be the thing that gets him.
But he wasn't a student there.
He's a graduate student.
But he wasn't on campus at the time. So you get him on trespassing, you get him on a few things, I'm sure.
But then they were going to have to say, if you're going to get him on trespass, you got to get every single person that was there that's not a student on trespass. So you're going to go back and do that. That's the whole thing they're going to look at. But if you've got him for all this other stuff, he was at Barnard College earlier this week, and they were handing out pamphlets that I guess were pro-Hamas. You've got him on some stuff. That's great, but do it the right way.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want to do is deport him. And then all of a sudden you go, okay, you couldn't have done that. And then, it makes you get egg on your face. You don't want that.
You get
do it the right.
A Democrat activist judge saying, come back.
Yeah. Or even a Republican judge going, look, guys, I may agree with what you have here, but you got to come through me. You can't just actively decide to toss somebody.
Yeah.
So we want to touch on that a little bit. And I got so much wacky stuff, too. Update on that. You saw the runner with the baton?
Yes. Did you see the video?
She spoke today.
She said the baton got stuck in her shirt behind her.
It was.
There's no way.
And the whole thing is, she goes, you guys all know my stride. Yeah, I know your stride. Unless you take 10 steps and then your right hand whacks in the air twice every single time, you were trying to beat that chick. Well, you did.
She did. She did.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a wild story.
Yeah. But she was all over the news today. And everybody, I love the comments. I run to the comments. They're like, you should have never said a word. It makes you look 10 times worse.
She's crying.
Yeah. Just say, you know what? I got frustrated. It was horrible. I apologize.
Yeah.
Move on.
Should have never done that.
Nothing to see. Another I got stuck in my shirt, but my arm has every 10 feet, it has a flagrant swing. Yeah, nut.
And that's how I cracked her skull.
That's it.
Chad's in next. It's 12 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.